Okay, so picture this. You've poured hours, literally hours, of research into an essay, carefully crafted your arguments, only to get it back from your professor with a note that says your tone is just, well, too informal or too chatty. It is incredibly frustrating, isn't it? You know the material inside and out, but somehow the actual language you're using is betraying the depth of your knowledge. Honestly, it's a super common struggle for anyone transitioning into higher level academic writing.
But here's the secret. Fixing your tone often just comes down to swapping out specific types of verbs. For example, writing, companies are keen to get back their costs makes perfect sense in conversation. But get back feels, well, casual. If we upgrade that to companies must account for their costs, the entire sentence is instantly transformed. It sounds precise, objective, and deeply academic. And all we did was swap a casual phrasal verb for a formal prepositional verb.
Welcome to today's Explainer. We're going to unlock the secret code of academic writing together. Our specific focus today is Lesson 25, the academic upgrade, mastering prepositional verbs. These little linguistic powerhouses are basically the unsung heroes of academic text, and by the end of our time together, you'll know exactly how to use them to instantly elevate your writing.
Okay, let's dive into this and look at our agenda for today. First, the prepositional verb advantage. Second, mechanics of prepositional verbs. Third, one verb, many meanings. Fourth, the power of passive voice. Fifth, verbs across academic fields. And finally, mastering your academic voice. Kicking things off with Section 1, the prepositional verb advantage.
So why exactly do we need to ditch those familiar, comfortable phrasal verbs when we're writing academic papers? Well, the answer lies in the fundamental difference between how we speak and how we analyze. Phrasal verbs, stuff like go on, get back, or look into, they're great for everyday physical activities and casual conversation. But academic writing rarely focuses on everyday physical actions, right? Instead, it's all about complex ideas and analysis. Prepositional verbs like focus on, relate to, or consist of are specifically designed to express those cognitive processes and formal actions. They are the absolute gold standard for academic texts because they carry a weight of precision that everyday phrasal verbs simply lack.
Moving right along to Section 2, mechanics of prepositional verbs.
To really use these tools effectively, we've got to look under the hood. What exactly is a prepositional verb anyway? Basically, it's a base verb paired up with a specific preposition. Words like in, to, on, with, or for. When paired together, they express a highly specialized meaning, and most importantly, they act as a single grammatical unit. You can kind of think of them as an inseparable team. The verb is the engine, and the preposition is the steering wheel, giving it a highly specific direction.
And because they're such a tight-knit team, there's literally an unbreakable rule you have to memorize. The structure is always the verb, followed by the preposition, followed by the object. This means the object always comes after the preposition. Now, unlike some everyday phrasal verbs which you can casually split apart, prepositional verbs are never separated, not even by a pronoun. So if you're talking to your tutor about your dissertation, it's totally correct to say, I'd like to work on it. But it's grammatically incorrect to split the team and say, I'd like to work it on. Just remember to keep the verb and the preposition glued together. Now, what's really interesting about this next part is Section 3, one verb, many meanings. It's kind of wild how swapping just one tiny word, the preposition, can entirely change the trajectory of your sentence. Take the simple base verb agree. It acts like a total linguistic chameleon. If you agree with a researcher, it means you share the same opinion. But if a board of directors agrees on a way forward, they're making a joint decision or policy. And if a company agrees to a sale of its assets, it often implies conceding or submitting, maybe even under pressure. The base verbs stay exactly the same, but the specialized meaning shifts dramatically based entirely on the preposition you choose. Precision really is everything in academia. We see that exact same chameleon effect brilliantly illustrated with the verb apply. You apply for something you want to obtain, like a job, a passport, or a research grant. But you apply to an entity or situation, like submitting your resume to a company, or stating that a specific theory applies to your coursework. Grasping these subtle nuances will make your writing incredibly sharp. And the really good news, you have a massive arsenal of these combinations at your disposal. Academic texts are literally filled with alphabetized lists of these specialized pairings, from account for all the way to draw on your resources. Now, you don't need to memorize the dictionary overnight, but as you read academic articles in your specific field, start paying attention to these combinations. Jot them down. Building your vocabulary of prepositional verbs is absolutely the fastest way to sound like a native academic.
Let's move to section 4 and see how this builds. The power of passive voice. Prepositional verbs are actually the secret engine behind that distinct, impersonal tone of academic journals. A lot of the time, students are advised to keep their prose objective, avoiding the use of I or we. For example, a sentence like, "We based our conclusion on the results," is active, but it's a bit personal. By transforming this to "our conclusion is based on the results," we've removed the human actors entirely. The focus is now 100% on the research itself. This is a classic hallmark of high-level academic style.
And the great thing is, the core meaning of the verb remains completely intact even when you flip it to the passive form. There are some real heavy hitters you'll see constantly. Things like a phenomenon is associated with an outcome. A theory is based on data. A concept is defined as something. Materials are derived from a source. Using these passive combinations packages really complex phenomena into clear, objective statements.
Which brings us right into section 5, verbs across academic fields. Let's ground this grammar in reality by taking a quick tour of different disciplines, because no matter what your major is, you're going to need these. If you're in medicine or the hard sciences, you are constantly describing origins, processes, and categories, so you'll heavily rely on passive prepositional verbs. For example, you might say, "Some medicines are derived from plants." It's concise, it's factual, and it sounds completely authoritative.
But what if you're over in sociology or the humanities? Here, you're often examining complex connections, causes, and social effects. So you might write something like, "These societal issues are associated with human behavior," or perhaps discuss how certain groups are prejudiced against. The prepositional verb gives you the exact nuance you need to securely link abstract concepts together. And let's finish up our tour with business and economics. In this field, you're constantly evaluating outcomes, justifying costs, and explaining results. So, going back to one of our very first examples, you might argue that managers must account for the success or failure of a business. Again, account for isn't just a physical action, it's a highly cognitive, formal expectation. Bringing it all together in section 6, mastering your academic voice. We've covered the what, the how, and the why. So, the crucial point is this. If you want the ultimate level up for your writing skills, just follow this checklist. First, actively choose prepositional verbs over those chatty phrasal verbs. Second, respect that unbreakable rule. Keep your verb, preposition, and object glued together in that exact order. Third, take a second to select the precise preposition that matches the exact nuance you're going for. And fourth, don't be afraid to embrace the passive voice, using these verbs to create that beautifully objective, impersonal academic tone. Ultimately, your writing is a reflection of your thinking. By upgrading your verbs, you're signaling to your reader that your thoughts are structured, rigorous, and deeply academic. So I want to leave you with this final challenge. Look at the next essay or report you have to write. Skim through your active verbs. Which prepositional verb are you going to use to completely transform the authority of your argument? Thanks for joining me on this explainer, and happy writing.